Hey, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, the show about good friends hanging out, talking about the things we all love. Got it right that time, Andrew.
That's at
It
least a
sounds right
hat trick
anyway.
at this point.
Yeah, well, I should put it to memory, but I don't, which would be a very easy thing for me to do. Our guest today is Grace Fong. I didn't know if you want your full name or if you're okay with just Panakal Podcast for Geeks. Oh, I hear myself. Hanging out. There we go. I took care of that problem. I'm sorry. Our guest today is Grace Fong, who's an artist in our group. That's how I got to know you. And then you guys all know my co-host Andrew Sides. Grace, you've done. I should talk about all your titles here, man. You're an award-winning author. You're an artist. Oh yeah, you get embarrassed. Game designer. You did a lot. You've done a lot of work that I think a lot of people dream about doing. You worked with all these companies, which a lot of people dream about working with. Welcome to the show,
I
by the way.
mean, it's all about survival, right? Like, just
Yeah.
build a skill set and go wherever, do whatever.
True. I mean, I only have one skill set, so that's it. I mean, I used to do I used to do IT work, but I don't think I have that skill set anymore. Maybe
It's
try by
surprising
maybe in a
how
panic it might come back to me.
it'll come back. Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't doing video game programming for like 3 years, right? And then but now it's gone back to being relevant. So like I could still read code, and that was pretty cool. Be like, hey, I can still do this, but I still
Yeah.
can't ride a bike because I've never been able to.
Really?
I can't
Yeah.
ride a bike.
You know what I realize is I can ride a bike with no problem still, but I can't skateboard the way I used to skateboard when I was younger. Like the balance for it has left my. I don't know if I'm just maybe. I think as I got older, I'm a little more cautious. Like, hey, you might break your shit. So maybe
Did you get
there's
taller?
I definitely got taller. Yeah,
Could be that too. Your center of balance is different.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that much taller from maybe from high school to now. High school and college.
Doesn't take much.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, right?
Doesn't take
Because on a
much.
bike, when we were living in the city, I didn't ride a bike for years, and then my one friend was like, "Let's all just ride bikes around the city. Why are we spending money taking the trains and the buses? You see all these bike messengers and people riding their bikes all over the city." In my head, I was always like, "A lot of traffic in Chicago. I don't really know if I should be riding a bike out here." But I did it.
Are there bike lanes?
Some areas have bike lanes now. It's
Like
becoming more of a
decently
thing.
dedicated, or is it like Florida has a lot of bullshit bike lanes where it's
Right.
really like a shoulder for cars that bikes happen to go
Right.
through?
Well, it depends on what part of the city you're in, right? So if you're in if you're in the Loop, there's some dedicated lanes for sure because a lot of tourists come there and they rent divvies and they're riding around, and you don't want them. The tourists are dumb though. They come on the sidewalk still, and it's illegal in the city to be on the sidewalk. And you're like, every time I see them, I'm like, you got to get on the street, man. Like you can't be on. And I can understand that confusion to people that come in from the suburbs, because in the suburbs you can ride around on the sidewalk and you shouldn't be on the street, vice versa. You can be anywhere in the suburbs basically. But like if you're in like West Loop or like Lakeview where we used to live, there's dedicated bike lanes. But if you're in like South Loop, there's areas that are just like good luck, And I rode my bike around forever until I got zinged by a cabbie. Is what happened once. And luckily I wear a helmet, so my head hit the curb, but I had a helmet on. And then the cabbie tried to pick a fight with me, which is amazing because it was his fault.
My goodness.
And after that, I was a little like, do I really want to ride this bike again?
See, like some of the best bike lanes I ever saw is they have like a median between the main road and the bike lane, and then there's like a sidewalk.
So if you see in the Loop, what they do is they have a cool system where they have in the city they have some areas of the Loop are starting to take in it. So I think New York does this where they have like lights where it's like your turn to go and their turn to, and then, people are making left turns. They try to make bikers go right, stuff like that. There's like giant wide green bike lanes, and it's dedicated because there's a lot of bikers in the city now. So I don't remember how we got to the biking conversation.
Skills that come back.
Oh, my skills, yeah. So yeah, that's a skill I definitely don't. Skateboarding,
video game programming to bike riding.
So code I can still kind of read because my friends will ask me to look at code sometimes. I'll be like, there's your problem right there, But it's very, very rare. I don't read. Like I saw some, like my friends are engineers. I saw some of the code they're working on, and I'm just like, this looks like nothing to me. And it's like, wow, this is. And they talk about it like it's second nature to them, right? I'm jealous because it's like
Yeah.
I read code in as much the same way that I read Spanish, where like every fifth word, I'm like, I recognize that. I don't
Yeah.
know what the context is for the rest of it, but I get it.
Yeah. I understand this is an if-then statement. I know what it does. I just don't know what it's doing here, you know.
I mean,
So
I'm super lucky
yeah.
that the
Before we get
engineer
too
is always
far,
there. I can ask them like, what are you trying to do?
what is your intent?
Um
Before we get too far on that, though, like we always do the thing at the beginning where we talk about cool stuff that we've read or seen or whatever.
Grace, you can go
Alan,
first if you want. You want me to go first? All right.
Yeah, you
share
go
your thing.
first.
So I was talking about skateboarding, which is funny because what I did was Ben Hill, who sometimes is watching, met. Oh, my screen's going blurry.
A lot of focus.
Sup,
They'll
Ben?
probably pop back in a moment.
Yeah, give it a second. So Ben Hill, who what is happening? Come on, thank you. Who he was working? I want to say it was MegaCon. Maybe he met these this group of people that make all sorts of things and all sorts of products. So he introduced me to them, and I had some of my artwork put on a skate deck. So there's the
Whoa!
this is the one side of it. I asked them if they had neon pink grip tape. Here's the back of it.
Yo, that's perfect.
Thank
The color
you.
matching.
So this one's one. I think I'm gonna kickstart these because I don't know if there's a big interest in them. Here's another one.
Just watch Back to the Future 2, and that shit is hoverboard quality.
Yeah, right. And then here's Morningstar on the back of it.
Oh, I like that one almost. That one's like it just fits the
This one
shape
came
of
out
the
really
board.
good.
Feels good.
This board is nice too, man. And the guy was super easy to work with, super friendly. Now I wanted neon green on the back of this, but he ran out, so I put black for now. But it's for this piece. So hoping
That one does. Oh, it looks really dramatic with the black, which I also like.
And then he did send me the Traveler, and I'm half and half on it. Which is
so you at the moment you only have like one of each as like a sample.
Yeah. So I did this one
that's
vertically.
kind of cool though. I like that too.
Yeah, I kind of like it. So I'm like, okay. What I wish for the design to happen is I want his arm. I don't want like this being cut off and this being cut off here. Well, this one he adjusted, so that's nice. But I kind of wanted him to be a little bit smaller so his arm wasn't cut off like that. But it's not that big a deal. I still think it looks cool.
You could probably like repaint it to the board template.
I could if I wasn't lazy. So
if you get enough Kickstarter pre-orders, you're gonna do it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do it. So I'm gonna have to clean up some of these. But I basically ordered these 4. I wanted to put the tree on there, but I realized it's kind of like what you and I were doing the other night, Andrew, with the shirt designs. I realized I have to redo the artwork specifically for the skateboard layout because I can't just take the image and shrink it down. I have to actually go into the layers. Right. Yeah, like for the tree piece, I couldn't get the tree in there, so I have to go to the layer with the tree on it and shrink that down on top of the background, basically.
Are you planning to bring those to Origins just to be like, hey, look, check these out. Do you guys want these?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take at Origins. I'm trying to decide if I should just be like, there's a Kickstarter. I'm hoping to just set up I'm gonna set up a Kickstarter page before next week before I leave for Origins. And if I set it up fast enough, they should send me a link that says sign up here for a reminder. So I'm going to try to do that. I thought about doing pre-orders, but I'm not ready to take orders on these yet because I'm still making sure they're...
Yeah.
Like I feel like I need to put some wheels... I want to put some wheels on them and test one out, but I know I'm going to break my back or something. The reason I don't skateboard anymore is I went to E3 in California a couple years back when it was industry only, and I remember I was at my friend's house, and he was like, do you want to take the beach bike or the skateboard? And I was like, very confident, I'll take the skateboard. I know how to skateboard, I'm fine. I went about 50 feet, and I wiped out. I didn't hit anything. Oh, no. I just lost my balance. It hurt. Everything hurt for like a day and a half. So after that, I was like, maybe you shouldn't be on a skateboard for a while.
So this one's getting old is like...
Yeah. I don't even remember if I juked funny or if I just took a bad step. I don't know what happened. I just remember the board went one way and I went the other way, and I was just like, that sucked. So you never know. If I put wheels on this thing, I might still test it out. So
I barely trusted myself on a skateboard before, but I definitely know I couldn't be on one now. Like I have no inner ear on this side. It like
Oh
would
yeah, that
really
would
fuck
throw
with
you
me.
off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. I was
No, I
amazed
grew
I
up
could
with
still
a
ride a
bunch
bike.
of my cousins, and all their friends are all into skateboarding. Like, I mean, my style is basically based on growing up with them. You know, we skateboarded everywhere. I never really did any of the big stunts on, like, the pipes or the hat. The
Do you do
ramps or
like a
whatever.
regular size, or are you like a longboarder?
No, I've never been on a longboard. I feel like it's easier, or so supposedly easier.
That's what I've heard. I remember Brittany Pizzillo, I think is her last name. Like
Mhm.
she rides a longboard around Philly and all that. And
Philly?
she's talking, yeah.
It's like Pothole
Talk
City over
about no
there.
bike lanes.
Yeah. No lanes, man. It's like, no, you just drive through a stop sign, nobody cares there.
She does with the longboard, I know that much.
That's dangerous.
I mean, whenever I see people longboarding, I feel like they're actually going somewhere. And when I see people on skateboards, they're like, I'm here having fun in this spot. It's like,
Yeah.
I almost feel like they're two different vehicles.
I've got friends who skateboard to work and stuff around the city, but it just, in the city it just feels too risky, and I'd rather just be casually skateboard. Like my cousins and I grew up with them in Chicago, but every time we were boarding around, we were visiting their. At that time, I'd be like their rich suburban friends, and then we used to skateboard around the blocks, and then they used to go to the skate park, but I never really did anything wild because I was always like I have a fear of heights. So I was like, I'm not climbing that ramp. Are you crazy? Like I tried to just jump off a little plank they made on the cul-de-sac once, and I broke my board in half. I
Oh my
landed
God.
it, then it broke in half, and I just remember it was only a day. That board was only a day old, and I
Oh
had
Yo,
my God.
that's so expensive when you're like a teenager too. You're like,
yeah.
shit.
That was and my dad had actually helped chip in for that, so I had to like go back in the house later and
Oh
and be
no.
like, well, this thing happened, and he got me a new board. He basically, being my dad, went in and basically argued with the guy that he sold us a shit board because it didn't last more than a day and a half. And the guy was trying to be like, your kid probably did something, and I was just like, all I did, skateboards are designs for jump, man. I jumped on it, like.
Yeah, did what I was expected.
I didn't expect it. It literally broke
Manufacturer's
straight down the
warranty.
middle. I still remember the middle just went psh, and I was scraping along. So, fucking fix your shit, sir.
That's a formative
Look.
memory.
Yeah, because I remember walking back thinking my dad was gonna be like, tough luck. Because I remember when my bike got stolen when I was a kid. I still remember this because he said, "Don't leave the house," and I said, "I'll be back in 10 minutes." And he was in the shower, so I left. And within those 10 minutes, I went a little too far past the point I wasn't supposed to go in Chicago, and I got jumped, and my bike got stolen. And I still remember that because I was like 12, and I was like, that was stupid. It was just dumb, 12 or 13. Like I should have just stayed home. But there's no takebacks when those things happen to you, right? There's only that you should have listened. You should have listened. But
Yeah.
you're like 13. You're like, well, what does he know? I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Life lessons I learned when I was 13.
That one was
That was like the
painful.
first time. Oh my God, I went to like this like camp, and one of the guys there he was making like beaded hemp necklaces. Like he would braid them and put beads on them. And it's like this was like what 2000, so like that was when
That's
frosted
cool.
tips was
That's
cool, right?
peak.
Like
Yeah,
that
that's
beach
peak.
look. And he would sell these necklaces to people, and he was like, I need a logo for my website. And me being like 12 and him being like 14, I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I'll give you $50. And he never
That's a
gave me
lot of money.
$50. He didn't even give me
Oh.
any of the necklaces. And I'm like, that was my first like client from
Got
hell
ripped off.
experience.
Yeah.
Do you know this guy's name? We should
14-year-old.
find him on Facebook and be like, yo, Grace, $50, dude.
With interest.
With interest compounded over 25 years. Pay up. And then we just send a bunch of artists after him.
Yep.
P.S. Your
That
necklaces
never
suck.
works.
Yeah, it never works.
Yeah,
those are the kind of. I mean, I still remember. Those are the kind of like things sometimes you have to learn things the hard way. Because I remember, like, I was with a friend, and these three dudes showed up. We got a little too close. This area is called the bridge. You're not supposed to go onto the bridge because the other side is very like ghetto, essentially. But we got a little too close. I don't even remember how we ended up in that area. We were just too close to it. We saw 3 dudes. We tried to bike away as fast as we can. I was a fat little kid, so I could not get away as fast as I wanted to. And I got jumped. It was bad. My dad was so angry. Like, I've seen him angry, but this was
you were at the people who jumped you.
At me for leaving the house.
No!
My dad's very Indian, guys. He does not give a... He's not like... I remember we got in the car. He had an old 440, man. Fast muscle car. We went through the bridge. And I remember sitting in the passenger seat like, yo, you're not supposed to go on this side of the bridge. We went up and down alleys because in his head, he's like, we're just going to find these 3... it's 3 like young black kids jump me basically, and he's like, we're gonna go find them and we're gonna get this bike back. In my head, I was like, what? Are you crazy? Like, they're gone, man. They've been gone for like 15 minutes. You took forever to come over here and pick me up, and I was only like a couple blocks from the house. I wasn't that far away.
This is the same incident? I thought, or did you get jumped twice?
No. This is the same day.
Oh, okay.
I had to walk my ass. I was on this, I came around the block. My friend was waiting for me. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why didn't you come help me? And another lady who lived on the block was like, what's going on? Because I was like, kind of crying too, because I was shook. Like, I didn't know what the fuck just happened. And she called the cops, and and then we called my dad, and my dad showed up and was yelling at me in front of all my friends. That lady was like, if you don't stop yelling at him, right? He was like shaking me too. So she was like, if you don't stop this right now, I'm going to call the cops on you. And I was like, how do you explain to her? I'm like, this is how Indian parents treat their kids. Like, you think this is abnormal. This is normal for me. But yeah, I thought we'd find the bike. And then in my head, I was like, I gave up on it. And then, a couple months after that, he moved us to the suburbs because our neighborhoods just started getting worse and worse. Like that, there was a line, and then that riffraff basically was, they slowly start pushing to see what they can get away with. And eventually the neighborhood's better now because my mother-in-law still lives there. I wouldn't say it's amazing. Like, I wouldn't raise my family in that neighborhood. But even when we visit my mother-in-law, I'm like, I don't want to be out here at night. Like, anytime I have to park my car down the block and walk to it to get it by myself, I'm like, yeah, I have that memory again. Except this time they're going to steal my van,
that shit doesn't leave you.
No, it doesn't.
Like,
but it actually made me more alert.
I got screwed right here at this point.
Yeah. We drive through that bridge sometimes now to go to her house. Like, it's this main thoroughfare now. Because, like, the area's been gentrified a little bit. So, whenever I go through that bridge, I'm like, and I get to that corner, I'm always like, that's the corner I got jumped at. Like, why do you make me relive this memory over and over?
Just make your mother-in-law move. That's totally
dude. We've tried
solve
to get
everything.
We've tried to get her out of that neighborhood. She's just so stuck there. I'm just like, what does it take? Do one of us need to get shot out here for you? But let's move on. Grace, did you have something? Or I know it was the last minute when I told you about this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, well, the newest thing in my life is like the newest thing in like everybody else's life, right? Like, I have sunk an ungodly number of hours into Tears of the Kingdom.
I knew you were gonna say that.
That was my thing too.
You're both gonna talk about the same thing? That's fine. I haven't bought it yet because I'm still playing. I never finished Breath of the Wild, and I don't think I ever will.
You don't really need to finish it.
That's what everyone said. Everyone's like, just go get the new
one. My wife never finished Breath of the Wild either. She's been playing Tears of the Kingdom more than me, to be honest, because I've just been busy. But
yeah, it's never gonna. I have a friend who said, I'm waiting for the price to drop. I'm like, bro, the price ain't dropping on that for like.
It's not dropping. It's a Nintendo game.
Yeah, it's a Nintendo game. It's super popular.
Nintendo's the Apple of video games. Like, everything is
It's
proprietary.
like the #1 game on the market right now, I think. So I'm like, it's not gonna drop. Are you crazy? What's that?
Oh, what was
that? That's outside my window. I'm gonna go look.
Okay. Yeah, make sure.
Speaking of scary neighborhoods, mine's pretty safe.
I was gonna mention that we finished our rewatch of Avatar: Last Airbender.
Oh man, I've been meaning to do that too.
We had on because, like, you know what it is. This is what happened to us. Is our daughter is like, she wants to watch like PBS Kids or whatever, like, her thing.
And that's what my kid watches all day, man.
Yeah, all day. That's the thing. So me and my wife were like, you've been watching this crap all day, or it feels like you've been watching it all day. So let's do something else. So then we're like,
wait, she's watching Airbender with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
This kid watches like thriller for fun. So
yeah. I mean, my kids watch some like Star Wars and stuff like that with me. So I've thought about Airbender, and I was like, this can't be. It's not that bad. Last time I remember,
no,
it's got its moments,
not at all.
So okay,
not like if they're watching Star Wars, yeah, they can totally watch Airbender.
Yeah, if they're watching Thriller, they can definitely watch Airbender. So yeah,
that too. So yeah, so anyway, like we were trying to just figure out, like, man, what can we put on that we can at least enjoy?
Hella casual, I guess.
We were trying to figure out, like, what can we put on that's like we would enjoy, but also she'd be interested in, and we had finished something else, and then I just said, like, let's fucking watch Airbender again. Why not? So we just finished rewatching that, and
Airbender holds up.
It does. It totally does. There's like one or two things on rewatch I'm kind of like, I wish they maybe had like a little more time to do things with, like like Azula's like final descent into madness with her like distrusting everyone and kind of like losing it. Like that happens in the course of like 15 minutes of like an episode, and it's like I kind of wish that was given like it's at least one whole episode of time to breathe.
Sure.
And like kind of give it like bridge between like the start of that and then where it ends up in the finale, because they don't really do a whole lot with it. Otherwise, like, yeah, it's actually pretty solid still all the way through. But yeah, otherwise I've been doing as much Tears of the Kingdom as I can. Just like Grace.
I mean, I'm this close to investing in. So I have a show next week. So in my head, I was like, if I make, I would need to pay off some bills first. But if I make enough money, I'm buying the game, because I'm tired of watching these like videos online with people building all sorts of contraptions. And then also, I was talking to, like you said, Grace, like you don't have to finish Breath of the Wild to play this game. Because I was gonna, like, in my head, I was like, I should finish the first game. You haven't really played too much of it, and I've been finally getting back into it this year. I rebooted it and started playing again, right? Because I haven't touched it in like 2 years since we moved. And then when I started playing it, I was like, I'll just pick it up from where I left off. And I was like, I don't have a single clue what I'm doing here. So
it's like so I 100%ed all the shrines in Breath of the Wild.
Damn.
What about the Koroks though?
No, not the Koroks.
You work in the gaming industry, so I feel like you've got that itch where you're just like, I have to close out everything.
Yeah, I'm like a super completionist, so my goal is to not start anything that I can't finish. It's a problem.
Good way to play. I've got a friend who buys like the books, so like if he missed anything, he can go through. Like he did like Fallout, and I remember he was going page by page and just finding everything in the game. I'm like, are you crazy?
I just looked those up on IGN, man. I don't pay for those.
Yeah, do they still sell strategy guides?
Some companies
Some places do.
Really?
Yeah. GameStop has to make money somehow.
Yeah, that's
I thought
true.
Those were like a relic.
It's like CD Projekt Red still does. I forget who makes. Is it who makes Fallout? I was gonna say Bethesda. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say that, and I was like, I'm guessing wrong. Oh man. Okay.
Have you been doing the air bike, Grace?
The air bike?
Yeah.
We've been using flying. No, we've been using the flying machine build, but like customized so that instead of 3 fans, it's 2 fans and a rocket.
So I just been doing like 2 fans strapped to the steering column. That's it. Like just 2 fans and then a steering column right in the middle, and there's my little air bike.
That makes sense.
Cheap.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, so I'll have to look at it.
He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, no. I'll be on your level soon enough.
I am so blown away with all the physics
Gundam in it.
I've seen that.
They built the Gundam.
The Macross.
Really? Yeah. You know that's what I'm gonna build.
Like astoundingly, like so they made it where semi-autonomous, but also it can be controlled if they want to.
That's cool.
And the whole thing is just like the example they gave is like he mounts it on like in a field, and all of a sudden it just starts shooting like missiles and beams everywhere. And like
Some of
this
the
crazy
stuff I've been
thing.
seeing online with that has just got me like cracking up, man. I'm just like, I love the fact that players are like, I'll get to the game, but I want to build this weird thing first and just see where it
Yeah.
goes. You know,
The game systems, the physics systems, and the creative systems are all really amazing. Like,
yeah, that's what I heard.
the amount of gameplay that they've designed around really simple stuff is pretty great. Like, it builds a lot on what Breath of the Wild had. Because Breath of the Wild has a lot of physics mechanics, right? Especially with that pause, and like you can beat something up to put force into it and then undo time and then unlock it. But now you get all these leveled up versions of the powers you had in Breath of the Wild. And like, okay, this isn't a spoiler because everybody's seen that you can assemble giant monsters, right?
Yeah,
Or not monsters, but giant machines. You get that power as the first thing you get in the entire game. And
That's
you're
cool.
like, this is some end game level stuff. And it's the first mechanic that you get. Like, it really levels up the gameplay from a physics standpoint in that just by just by giving you that so early. And
Come to think
you
of it,
can
like
solve so many puzzles
all the
with it.
powers they give you right from the get go is like, this is game breaking.
Yeah,
I can wreck shit with this.
Like the fuse power, super awesome. It helps mitigate the weapon scaling issues from the first Breath of the Wild, where it's like, okay, I've got nothing but sticks and one good sword, but because of things always breaking in this game, because weapon durability is one of the mechanics, then you're like, shit, I don't want to use my good sword. I'm gonna beat everything up with this like level 2 wooden stick, even though I'm like late game.
I make very liberal use of the recall ability where you can rewind time and all that. Like, anytime anyone throws me a rock or anything my way, I'm like, nope, gonna pause time, rewind it, and shoot it right back at you.
Yeah, I think we also use it to like move stuff further when we're flying and stuff like that. And
okay,
I love the glider stuff. I'm a big explorer kind of gamer. I'm not a big like, so that's why like I like experiences that are like super on rails or super explory kind of. Not a very big action or achievement motivated gamer.
Have you seen that Starfield game that's coming out?
So I haven't watched Summer Game Fest because I've been I work a 9 to 5. What I do is I wait for my friends to tell me what's been cool.
Look up Starfield if you like it looks a little bit like got like a weird
honestly,
like Mass Effect feel to it, except it's not like there's no like specific, you can do whatever you want. It's like open world by the looks of it. So which looks kind of cool.
there's like I got like two minds about it. One of them is like I watched the direct and I was like, man, if this comes out and actually kind of at least halfway delivers on what they're promising, like, how fucking dumb are people going to feel that are like Star Citizen backers? Because
that game's
thing's
still not out.
Yeah, it's a fucking scam. I'm pretty sure it's like an embezzlement scheme or something at this point.
I have a friend who works
and then all of a sudden like Starfield's out and it's like, look, here's your game that you want. It's just not multiplayer right now, but whatever.
Right. I mean, that's what we were talking about in the group, right? I was like, if they made a multiplayer, I'm like, we're building a bunch of pirates and we're just gonna go pillage.
Well,
multiplayer is probably one of the most challenging things to add to a game. So it makes sense that like a single player version of a similar concept could get executed faster.
Sure.
To be honest, I don't think I trust Bethesda. I know they did Fallout 76, which is multiplayer and all that. I still don't trust them. I'm astounded that the Gamebryo engine can do a multiplayer game.
This is Gamebryo?
Yeah. Oh, I don't care whatever they say. Like you know, they've mentioned time before with like Skyrim and all that. They like, oh, we rebuilt it from the ground up. It's like, no, this is still Gamebryo. This is still shit from Morrowind. You just redid like the lighting engine or whatever.
Bless. I've used Gamebryo in college.
It's still they've
still
never there. They've just kind of Adobe Photoshopped it. They just shit on top and then hope that it doesn't come crashing down.
That's the thing though, like if you're working in any studio, right? Like what you end up with a lot of tech debt based off how old the studio is. So like
Yeah, it's
even
like,
working in
do you want to do the
Unreal,
R&D for it, or for like for new stuff and whatever?
yeah, so switching an engine is incredibly expensive. It's probably like the biggest cost that you can put on a company. So like because it basically means having to redo a large part of your code. Because
And you
so a
also
lot
lose like a
of
bunch of institutional knowledge too, like people that have
yeah.
figured out what's the best way to work with that engine, right?
Yeah, so it's much easier for them to just like take whatever engine they use for Fallout, which it seems like it's Gamebryo, and just build on top of whatever functionality they had there and swap out all the narrative and the art assets.
What astounds me is, at least with the Starfield thing, is they show like ships leaving from a planet up into space and stuff. The one thing initially I thought like, okay, is this like a No Man's Sky? And then the more I was
That's
watching, I
exactly
was
what
like,
it felt like initially.
yeah. And the more I was watching, I was like, this seems like it is still like their engine and all that. I don't know what stuff they've tacked onto it to make it work the way it does. I have a feeling, without like being able to do like hands-on, without anyone within the press doing a hands-on or anything, that the way the planet thing works is like kind of like a Mass Effect thing. You get to the planet and you have like some areas, like points of interest that you can go to,
Right.
and maybe those are like large areas to explore, but it's not like technically No Man's Sky. It's like you can start on like one area of the planet and circumvent the entire globe and then come back to your ship. Theoretically, it takes an ass load of time, but it can be done.
Sure.
And I think Starfield's more like, no, we have our planet. There's like 3 or 4 things on the planet you can visit, and
Yeah,
then
they
you
showed
can't visit
the
outside
trailer
of it.
showed like when you zoom out into the whole solar system in this world, the trailer showed like there's planets that you can explore, there's planets that have already been developed, and there's planets that you go to, and you're the guy doing exploring and logging. What do you call it?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, so it's a mixed bag of everything. It looks cool, but you know the trailers always look better than the actual game. So we'll see.
That's the thing. Trailers aren't necessarily like, I don't know if this, I've got it open on my other screen now. I'm like, is this in engine, or is this like, when you commission
Right.
Blur to make like a separate, this totally could be it. Actually, it looks like it's in engine.
Yeah. It's just
but
really, they redid the lighting and stuff. It looks rather nice for what I'm assuming is Gamebryo.
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing for me though. Visuals don't always like snag me nowadays, especially now that I am a game developer.
Yeah.
It's so the difference for me between like a game, what you're like guessing the Starfield is versus like what you've posited No Man's Sky is. The thing about procedurally generated games for me is I actually tend to lean towards a more curated gaming experience, because whenever there's
procedural generation, I think I'm on the same line of thought as you. Go on.
So for me, like the engine doesn't matter so much. Like you have people that like Magic is a card game and people fucking love it, right? It's about anytime you're this is my like philosophy of gameplay. Games, which is also, by the way, they make terrible investments for tech companies. Please stop. Like Netflix, stop. This you're not gonna make money by investing in games. Because it's all creative work, right? You're actually not selling technology, you're selling feels.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's about you can have shitty art, shitty tech, shitty like story, but like as long as you're creating an experience that like people want to have, then they will buy it. Like
Yeah. Like
Yeah, it's true.
what was that came out like 2 years ago? Or Cruelty Squad?
yeah, like
You remember
I don't know what that
seeing the trailer of
is.
that? Oh my god, it's a game that what is it trying to evoke? Like real early 3D, not like Doom 3D, but like when things became truly polygonal, but
Oh, low
things
poly's
weren't textured.
super.
Not even like it's like really low poly, like not textured low poly, and
Wow.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's really ugly looking. like
It looks like something that they did in like Painter.
Aesthetically, it is. It's ugly to look at, but it's intentional to look that way, which is really hard.
Hypnospace Outlaw is another one that I'm thinking of. It is like ridiculous looking.
I was going to bring up the follow. Have you seen the sequel to Hypnospace?
No, not yet. I haven't actually played Hypnospace. It's on I bought it, but I haven't played it yet.
Cruelty Squad is not a good looking game.
They made a sequel to Hypnospace called oh god, what is it? X Slayer X Terminal Vengeance, I think it's called, or whatever. And what it is like, okay, so it's not like, how do we even begin? So this is a game made by a user that was in the Hypnospace Outlaw game, because that's like GeoCities in the 90s or whatever. And this game was developed by one of the users, 13 years old, and then he lost the game. And then 20 odd years later, he found the game and he's like, well, I'm going to finish it. So the game plays, looks, and feels like a Doom build kind of game. And it has all those like late 90s, early 2000s aesthetics to them, where it's like a lot of like Jinko jeans and things like almost like a Linkin Park aesthetic, if that makes sense.
Oh my god. The worst part is like I see teenagers on the train and I'm like, it's coming back in earnest. Like this is not ironic.
Yeah. Dude, I had a pair of Janko jeans. I remember I begged my dad for those. I hated them. I had them for I think I had them for like a month. I tried. And then I was like, how the fuck are people walking around with these fucking things on? I remember I remember in high school, it was in college. I went to visit my friends in U of I in college, and my friend's wife right now, she still tells this story to everyone when she meets. The first time she met me, I was dating this girl. She bought me a pair of, I had like the Hot Topic pants, the big ones with like the crazy cables coming off of them and all that. That's what I used to wear. This girl I was dating, remember that, and bought me this pair of these really wide leg pants. I'm talking like you could hide a dog in them.
Like bell bottoms.
Big, they're huge.
No,
they're like
wider.
They're wide, man. I'm talking like the punk, the like, what do you call them? Like the goth punk kids.
They got the suspender straps on the back.
Yes, exactly.
Then,
so
I
was just like, so I was about to leave town. She gives me these pants. I'm just like, all right, I'll try them on. And then she's like, you just know how to wear them? And I'm just like, yeah, I'll wear them. So I drove all the way to U of I in these fucking pants. And then I was like, my head, I was like, no one's going to see me. I'll just go change before I meet up with my friends. Except I get out of the car and my buddy's like, hey, come meet my friend Christina. And I'm just like, oh shit. All right. So I'm like, here we go. And I had like a faux hawk and stuff. So I kind of fit the bill, but that's not part of my, it wasn't what I usually wore. But I remember I go to their dorm and it's her two roommates. And they're like, hey, man, they never gave me a hard time about the pants. They were just like, you want to play some Nintendo? So I sat down playing Nintendo with them for like an hour and a half. And then my friend was like, are you going to go change? I was like, I was trying to, but you put me in this situation. I'm being here for an hour and a half now. She still brings up that I remember I gave those pants to my friend Pete. I was like, yo, Pete, you want these pants? He's like, sure. And he fucking cut the legs and turned them into shorts. But it's fine.
Fuck.
Yeah, I was just like, I was like, why didn't you just buy a pair of shorts, man? But I was like,
it's because then you'd have to spend money. This is free shorts.
Yeah, I'm curious if he still has them. It'd be funny if he did. But yeah, I slowly went into that phase and I slowly came out of it because I was just like, it was different, and in my head I was like, all right, you're trying to, I grew up with skinny jeans, skater jeans, and like long. I just got rid of these shorts maybe like 2 years ago. I had the long DC shorts. The skater shorts always went a little bit past your knees in case you fucking ate it. Your knees would come down. So I bought nicer shorts. I mean, but she hated those shorts. She'd be like, they're too long. They cover your knees. I'm like, I like them, and they're super fucking comfortable.
The long baggy shorts are like almost a direct reference to Michael Jordan and his revolutionizing the NBA. So can't diss long shorts because they're historically important.
I'm gonna have to bring those up next time as an argument because we're from Chicago.
I love fashion, BT Dubs.
That's good to know. I will not be sending you any photos of those pants because it is horrible. But yeah, finally I retired those shorts, but I didn't throw them away. They're still in the house. So maybe one day after an argument, I'll just put them on and walk around.
I move too much to like hold on to things.
I mean, we moved. So we lived in Lakeview, Chicago for almost 9 years, and then when we bought this house, when we moved, I like did a purge, and I got rid of like almost 10 bags of clothing. It was literally like, it kind of hurt because there were shirts in there that I had from when I was in college I didn't want to get rid of. Like, but then also I started saying to myself, if you haven't worn this in the last 3 months, you're definitely not going to wear this later. But there's things in there like I distinctly remember the Skeletor shirt. I had this old school He-Man Skeletor shirt, but I'm like, you haven't worn this thing in forever, and it barely fits you. Get rid of it, And I just went down the line and got rid of a lot of stuff, and now we're kind of like starting to fall back into our bad habits of accumulating stuff again. So I'm trying to like purge more. So I have that 3D printer ready to go, Andrew. I'm setting it up tomorrow. Yeah. I finally moved this giant desk out and I put a new desk in. So I'm just like tossing things when I don't even have I feel like when you start getting rid of stuff, there's a trigger that goes off in your head after a while where you don't second guess it. You're just like, it's gone.
Yeah,
get rid
of
it.
Yeah, like Marie Kondo it.
Yes, exactly. It's like,
I definitely,
I'm just done with this.
For t-shirts and stuff like that, I do tend to repurpose them a lot. Like one of my big projects in December was borrowing a friend's sewing machine and turning all my t-shirts into the ones that like I would never wear because they were like too tight under the armpits. So like I cut their sleeves off, made them tank tops, and now I find myself actually wearing them, and I'm like, so hey man, that was worth like that like hour of effort. Yeah.
I found a company online that takes old shirts, you send them all your shirts, and they turn them into blankets, like patchwork.
Oh yeah, it's super easy to do that.
I'm not.
If you have a sewing machine.
Yeah, I just turned mine into rags.
Yeah,
I'm like, they're square. It's so easy.
I saved.
Blankets are square.
You talking to? Okay, I'm not even trying to explain how bad I am at
You should do it for your kid.
Don't try that with me.
You cut your shirts up, and then you're like, "This is like when Dad went to this concert," and then you introduce them to the album.
I saved the shirts from like bands I used to like and stuff, and I just cut like the front off, and I saved all those. But I have I also have speaking of Linkin Park, a bunch of shirts that they signed. So I saved all that because I'm like, I'm not gonna get rid of this. This is like,
you could frame those if they're signed.
Yeah, I could if I wanted to.
One of our local like Korean bars is just like all signed basketball memorabilia. That's just like his shtick.
I mean, that's cool. Hope they have good security on that building. So I was going to talk a little bit about your writing. So you used to.
Oh boy.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You said that like, I don't know if I want to.
It depends. If it's my writing, yeah, I have all legal rights to talk about it. If it's like writing that I do for companies, I'll just tell you if I can't talk about it.
Well, I was going to ask you about some of the you used to write for Magic, like you were.
Yeah. But
I was curious, like, were you writing like lore for them, or along with the blurbs that are in the cards?
So I was writing lore for them, not the card blurbs. The card blurbs actually. So Magic has a team of about like 5 to 8 writers at any given point in time. And so each one of us handles the lore for like one specific set, and that also includes the Universes Beyond sets. Like the Lord of the Rings set has its own like writer as well. And so the role of the writer there is actually is not to do the flavor text on the cards, but basically to be almost like a creative director from a story standpoint, where you work with the AD to be like, hey, I think I've looked at the mechanic that game design has come up for the red-blue color combination. It's almost always wizards and spells and stuff like that. So sure. In this world, wizards are going to be manifested as like blah blah blah, men in pointy hats. And you throw a bunch of references at your AD. The AD then they do very little drawing themselves, because just the sheer quantity, they're mostly directing other artists. So like they'll hire on a team of about 3 to 5 concept artists and have those guys pump out images for the world guide. And as a writer, it's your job to write that world guide. So that's like 8 to 15,000 words of backstory for that world, for that magic set.
Just from looking at those illustrations or whatever?
You write it simultaneously as the art is being done, so that you could ask for specific changes to be like, hey, that wizard's hat's not pointy enough. Here it's like literally they can't fold down, they have to be purely conical. Like this is the kind of like minutia that you have to do. Like you talk to the AD, it's like, oh, this group of wizards, because they're blue and black, use the floppy hats, and this one use the conical hats. To kind of like, so basically you're trying to create a visual language for that world. And like the AD is the one who decides what the hats look like, but it's our job as writers to be like, well, the pointy hat people like pointy hats because they are aggressive, and these hats double as lances. Stuff like that.
Just like there's a reasoning for it.
Yeah, we provide the why for why things look a certain way, and by providing that why, we can create relationships between the different gameplay colors. And gameplay colors are important in Magic because people build decks around these specific colors, and people identify with like certain color pairs, and the colors match up to not just the color of land that you use to power your deck, but also the play style of that deck. For example, you can almost always find green will have very large creatures mechanically. So you have these like creatures that have like 10 attack, 10 defense, like 7/7. Whereas blue, you're going to have a lot of flying creatures, so creatures that use the flying mechanic. And they're generally smaller. So it's like 2/2s, 3/3s, 0/1s, stuff like that. And like so the writer's job is essentially to maintain the feeling of those colors. So when a player goes to play those cards, they can easily look at, this is a blue card. I know how it's going to play. I know I'm going to feel like I'm really clever because I'm going to be able to like counter spell my opponent. Or you're like, that's a green card. I'm going to feel awesome because I get to put this giant dinosaur on the field. And so it's about, like, as a writer, it's literally you're creating feelings. That's all gameplay. You're just making feels.
Making feels feel.
Yeah. That's why it's a shitty investment. Like, because people change their feelings all the time.
Is Netflix investing in... I didn't realize Netflix was investing in gaming houses.
Yeah, Netflix has bought Night School Studios and like a couple other gaming houses. And now they're like, oh my God, why are we running out of money? And like, they overinvested in a lot of original shows given their budget. And because like, Orange is the New Black did really well. And so I think
into the whole thing that happens when you hit market saturation. Your lines no longer go up. And then what do you do when your line's supposed to go up? Instead of building something more sustainable, you panic and then you start shutting down things left and right.
That's basically the Netflix model is.
Dude, it's so annoying because you fall in love with the show and then you're just like, they canceled it? And you're like, well.
Yeah, there's a lot, like, I definitely think that universal basic income and stuff like that is pretty crucial to maintaining a healthy creative industry. Because with the way privatized, I believe it's because creative industries are like 95% risk, right? Like for every hitting at the right moment, because it's all about feels. Like, how is the public feeling? Are you getting your product to the right people who want to have the feelings that your product creates? And if you look at it like all just like based off of numbers and risk to make number go up, like people would literally feel different in 2016 versus 2022 versus 2014. And so it's so risky.
Do you feel like it's maybe more micromanaged now than because like when I think of like say Warner Brothers circa 1950 or a little bit earlier, a lot of that, like the animation studio was largely just left to their own devices. Like the big wigs at the studio was like, I don't fucking care. You're just making shorts for the front of our movies or whatever. So here you go. Here's a check. Do whatever you need. We just need this thing. And nowadays it feels like you have like 1,000 other cooks that are like have to input their own idea of like, well, what is this thing going to have to look like for us? How is this going to be? What's the synergy for it? How's it going to tie into our other things and all that?
Yeah, like in my experience in my career, it's been a large amount of like whenever you're writing a story or something, it's essentially justifying like how is this going to make money, right? Who is this for? Stuff like that. And
that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the machine, unfortunately.
I was talking
Are the kitchen noises too loud for you guys? Just a question.
We can't hear that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't hear it all. Now I was talking to my wife about it. Not too long ago, I think. I don't know. Time's a flat circle. I can never keep track. But I do miss, at least mostly in the film territory, you don't really get the middle movie anymore. Like the movie that it doesn't need to do a whole lot of doesn't need to make crazy ass money because it wasn't made with a big budget,
right?
But it looks like a good budget movie. You know, like something like even something like Die Hard or whatever, which is when you look at like what that budget wise was a shockingly small movie compared to like what it made.
It's all in one location too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really like kind of get that, or even like something like John Carpenter's The Thing, like if I remember right, like did not have that big of a budget, even though it had all these effects and everything. Like there's more risk adverse now because everyone, at least in terms of like studios, they put all their eggs in the basket of like every movie we put out needs to make $1 billion. Otherwise, if it doesn't make $1 billion, we're fucked. And it's like, well, that's a bad business model. You should do instead a bunch of tiny movies, and then if one of them does really good, you're good, because then all of a sudden you have a runaway hit. Like actually the last I don't even know if that had a big budget. I just remember it was like a sleeper hit. Was the Meg that eventually got a sequel, but that was a movie that kind of came out of nowhere. And then
with the shark,
yeah,
there's a second one. Yeah,
definitely there's a second one now. Or even something like John Wick, which was made with a shoestring budget.
Yes, and now it's got a bigger budget. Obviously,
it's gotten a bigger budget over time. That is what happens. Like it shockingly did really, really well.
Yeah, I like movies like John Wick. I actually just was we were talking about Everything Everywhere at Once. That had a really low budget, and it's I like movies like like that one because it only has like a couple sets. Like what's that movie? Knives Out. I love Knives Out because it only has like 4 sets and just good writing, right? And that's one of the things I really liked about like Quentin Tarantino. He always did like minimal sets, just good writing, depending on the movie you pick. And if you can pull that off on a low budget and then you make money, I wish more people would do that still, but everybody wants like fucking
the thing is like the bad idea, the wrong idea is always taken away from it. If they see something like John Wick, the idea taken away is not, oh, we can also do a smaller budget movie, and if it succeeds, that's a bigger payback for us. Their takeaway from it is instead, oh, Gunkata's back. We should do Gunkata stuff.
Right. Make 5 more of these.
Should be like, we should make more John Wick alikes. That's how you get like the
there's a female version of that.
There is. There's also the Bob Odenkirk movie that was like a John Wick like kind of movie.
So that's a guy from Better Call Saul?
Yeah, he did. Better Off, no, not Better Off Dead. I forget the name of it.
I know what it is. I've seen the trailer for it.
And there are several like John Wick imposter kind of movies that came out or whatever. And but the fascinating thing about originally was gave an avenue for a lot of those things to exist, and they ended up pursuing the wrong idea from that as well, and they started going after bigger and bigger things, and that's how you ended up with like more and more canceled stuff, because everyone is like going towards like a singular point where it's like, this has to be the big thing for us. We can't just have like failures and then one bright blip. Everything needs to be a massive success.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's generally how things work nowadays, I feel, just because
Yeah.
like that's the model for late stage capitalism that's largely pushed by like probably management companies like McKinsey and stuff, where
Yep.
you know, everything comes down to like, oh, it's for the shareholders. And it's weird because shareholders are kind of like this distributed control. Because like you, me, everybody who owns whoever has seen a retirement plan or opened a bank account is technically a shareholder. And but the thing is, it's so distributed that like the power itself is so distributed that it's concentrated only in the board of whoever is running that company. And it's a very odd stage of post-capitalism. Like the venture capital where all your money comes from like one turbo rich person is kind of it's less prevalent as it used to be.
Yeah.
But like when you have
like a Vanderbilt type person or a Rockefeller.
Yes, yeah. Vanderbilt's Rockefeller is like things like Y Combinator, things in like San Francisco, where a lot, like when I was growing up in tech, a lot of it was like, how do you make a company that's just good enough to convince somebody to buy you out? So then you have millions of dollars and you don't have to work anymore. Like basically it comes down to tricking a group of rich people, right?
Right.
It's not about making anything good. And also, but also because of the late stage capitalism, everybody's trying to make the investments go up for the shareholders. Like companies like Instant Pot, which also, by the way, is coupled with Pyrex, is gone.
Instant Pot is gone?
Instant Pot is gone as of like last week.
Yeah, they filed for bankruptcy and all that.
It's Chapter 11, so they can come back.
Okay. I didn't know they were do they own Pyrex, or does Pyrex own them? Or
no, somebody bought them and bundled them with Pyrex.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Because it's like that companies buy other companies.
Yeah, that kind of explains Pyrex's like recent. Reading that there was like a big quality issue with Pyrex recently, like a lot of their more recent glassware stuff.
Yeah, it's no longer about trying to sustainably, like an Instant Pot is a once in a decade purchase, right? But everybody fucking loves them. So it wasn't about like keeping Instant Pot alive. It was about like maintaining this obscene level of growth from everybody buying their initial Instant Pot.
Yeah. Or like, what was it during the pandemic? Peloton.
Yeah.
Dude, I almost bought one of those. They made a lot of money during the pandemic, and a lot of their bikes are breaking down now.
And then they did the very stupid thing of being like, well, this money means we should scale up as fast as possible, instead of being like, we should set some of this stuff away for nest egg.
Right.
It's like companies, what is it? It's like companies always telling you to save, but then they asking government for bailouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We definitely would not get a bailout if our businesses were failing.
No. Like, I don't know. Like, I've taken business courses, right? And I remember in like Marketing 101, this left a big impression on me. Is the professor asks, how do you get people to pay a lot of money for your product and keep coming back over and over? And people are like, oh, discounts or sales or great marketing campaign or like blah, blah, blah. And then my buddy, who's an English major, raises his hand and says, have a good product. And the professor was like, they're fucking good.
This makes sense, right?
I love that.
Yeah. Like, I find Steam to be a great example of things where a lot of things where it's like piracy or like things like that. A lot of things can be solved just by correct distribution.
Yeah.
And you can like distribution and sustainability, I think, are important for long-term business. And I see marketing more as an extension of distribution, as like figuring out who your product is for and getting it to those places.
Smart. You should come manage my business.
I mean, I know there's been an uptick in, I don't know about game piracy, but I do know about other media piracy. That's partly attributed to the fact that like everyone's trying to get their own piece of the pie now with streaming services. And you know, back when Netflix first came out, when it was all kind of centralized, piracy dropped because it was like, oh, cool, here's an easier thing for me. This is less a hassle than it is to pirate. And now it's like, fuck, gone right back to where it was.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, I was actually telling a friend the other day. I'm looking to see if I can pirate some of Prehistoric Planet, because as far as I know, I don't think Apple has any intention to ever release that or any of their other shows on Blu-ray or anything like that.
No, because
And
Apple
it's like,
TV is like $7 a month, and
Yeah,
people
the
are like,
value add is gone. The archive nature
Yeah.
of like having streaming stuff is gone as well, which really sucks.
yeah,
that was the
because
main thing I was okay with. I was okay with that. Now it's like, nope, back to collecting physical media. And if they won't provide it to me, I'll find a way to get that physical media
right.
for myself.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
because like
I don't want to spend $7 a month is still $7 a month. You know, I'm like,
$7 a month times 10 networks.
right.
is cable bill.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I don't want to spend
Exactly.
that. Like, I already have I have Netflix, which I've had forever, and then like, you know, my wife and I, we have a Hulu with the ads, which I canceled because I was like, I don't want to pay for this anymore. Because the ads are fucking I know what they're doing. They keep showing you an ad every like 10 minutes because they want to frustrate you into paying for the ad-free version. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that, you know. So
something we talk about in the biz is kind of like time economy. So basically, people's time is the super limited resource. It's the number one limited resource, and so like you're no longer like if you're writing something, if you're drawing something, if you're like video games or movies. It's like movies are always like, oh, we're competing with other movies. And it's like, no, you're not. You're competing with video games and books and everything because you're actually just competing for people's time, which is what the streaming services are all trying to do. They're trying to lock in that's why viewership is so important to them. It's decisions made on locking people's time in and getting that kind of commitment. And however, there have been struggles to take that. You're also competing with social media, right? Like TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and stuff that's for time. And so there's a struggle in like, how do you convert time to actual money? And that has traditionally been done by advertising. But as people wise up, advertising becomes less useful because people are like, this is fake news or this is clickbait. And so a lot of businesses who are using the same principles that they would in the 90s aren't seeing the same kind of revenue that they would from advertising. And also now it's basically bots looking at bots. Like it's like, oh yeah, Facebook promises you 1 million clicks on your ad, but it's like 999,000 of them are bots. Because it doesn't track who's clicking it. But all Facebook cares is that you've like that you've seen, someone has seen that ad, because that means that they can sell that view to somebody who wants an advertisement. If you're interested in learning more about this, Cory Doctorow writes a lot about this. Choke point capitalism is probably like the biggest thing that he's written about, like distribution networks and like stage capitalism and stuff. I just bought his new book. Speaking of new stuff, I haven't read it yet.
I was gonna say it's on my list, or at least that one is.
It sounds
I remember
interesting,
reading
sure.
his. I talked about his theory a little bit before, Alan, on like I forget what other show, but the enshittification of social media. That article. Oh,
yep.
Good.
It's good. It's really good. Apparently, he's been shadow banned on Twitter.
Of course.
Basically because just in like the large grand scheme of Twitter going down,
Twitter's done.
Like basically he won't pay for verification, right? So like they're gonna shadow ban his tweets, so you can only see him if you already follow him.
Right.
Oh, look at that. And I just saw an article today say they got kicked out of their Colorado offices because they've been not paying rent for months. And a judge finally said, Twitter, get the fuck out.
Oh, really?
Like Having
not pay
been
your rent?
raised with the false idea of meritocracy, I think as an adult, I came to understand what power really is, which is where one person's decisions can affect lots and lots of people. And I think that's like basically the decision. What the definition of power is how many other people you can affect when you are making decisions about your own life.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up.
It's truth.
Man. Grace, have you ever, I don't know how many game design studios you've worked for, but have you ever worked for like a worker-owned one or anything similar to that, or like just traditional business hierarchy studios?
I mean, I've worked for a lot of big name studios, which are, obviously privatized companies, but I am a union member on honorary withdrawal, obviously. But I have worked in animation before. I worked at DreamWorks Animation. And so all of the
Cool.
major LA studios for anim are part of Local 839, which is a subset of IATSE, which is the same union that represents Teamsters and cameramen and like basically below the line quote workers for live action movies.
That's cool.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you worked at DreamWorks. That's neat.
Surprise.
Now we all know. What are you doing hanging out in the Rusty with us, man? Like,
I was a programmer at DreamWorks, which is how I ended up in video games.
that's cool.
I guess developing or working on their render engine, or
I was debugging shots from their render engine. So like, yeah, like I would work with my mentor because I was really young at the time, and he's like, "Yeah, see this antelope? This antelope's not wearing pants. We need to figure out why he's not wearing pants because they all have to wear pants."
Oh, that's fast. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah, like the render could just pick a different day and all of a sudden spit out random shit. That's not supposed
like
to.
basically because you assemble them like little puppets, right? Every animated movie is like the 3D model and the puppet has clothes, and then you put a little skeleton inside them and you move the skeleton around to animate it. And sometimes the clothes disappear because the clothes are simulated. So there's this one shot, it's my favorite, is like Eat from the Croods. Like she gets the new shoes, right? And so she like he's like, close your eyes. And then she looks down at her new shoes. And then when we were working on it, her dress just fell off when she did that.
Amazing.
Because the render engine to do the clothes, it actually uses physics calculations, right? So like cool. You like say like, okay, this is where the cloth is pinned to the body, and then for this frame, do this number of calculations. If your wind is going this way and gravity is going this way, does the math, and then the next frame, it's like, okay, it'll be here. The next frame, it'll be here. It'll be here. And then you take that photo every single frame, and then you have animation that way. But sometimes that calculation goes wrong, and all the cloth is like, whoo.
Yep, I've had that happen at least in Blender a few times whenever I've mucked it out with their physics simulation, which is insane sometimes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Physics is fun. I'm not smart enough for that department. They're very smart.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's where they just stick all mathematicians that come out of college.
Yeah, they're the math guys.
Yeah.
I ain't fucking crunching those numbers. I remember I got a tour of Gearbox once, and I met some of the designers there, developers there, and like some of the stuff they're doing. I was like, it's just way beyond my. I walked in there thinking maybe I should apply for a job here. I walked out thinking you're gonna get fired on day one. like I was just like, no way.
I think like at a game studio, there's generally like less than 10 2D artists at at most game studios I've worked at per project.
Yeah, I'd imagine they're probably being concept art, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 2D games, it tends to also actually be less than 10 because those games tend to be smaller in technical scope and just overarching demand. So the team itself tends to be very small. Like often a 2D mobile game will have less than 3 artists and or just rely entirely on outsourced contracting.
That makes sense.
Magic is the most art intense, like 2D art intense product that I've worked on.
Yeah, they have a lot of artists.
Yeah, I mean, they're on a constant churn, it seems like.
Yeah. There's 400 cards roughly that get made per set and 6 sets a year.
Jeez.
My God.
So
I stopped, Magic was one of those companies when I was in art school. I was like, I really want to work for Magic. I still would do a card if I ever got a call for one, but it's not one of those like I have to make a card feelings anymore. Now I'm just kind of like, if it happens, it happens, because I'm just tired of pining for it, essentially.
don't pine for things that are out of your control.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, if somebody I've got ADs looking at my work still, so it's kind of nice. And if somebody calls me and says they got a card, I'll take it. If they, but I'm not sitting around waiting.
Like,
I talk to artists about this all the time, because there's a lot of artists who are like, this is all I want to do. I just want to work for Magic. I'm just like, you gotta like
so many other things.
Yeah, there's so many other avenues.
Yeah,
for you to take,
I see a lot of that, and when I see people, the advice that I would give them is, do you want to be part of the Magic community? Like, or is it like you see the amount of money that people are getting in those auction sales for their traditional art, and that's the main reason why you want to go? That's not really, it's really, Magic supports itself as a community. Right. And that is, I think, if you want to be part of that, then I think you could really succeed if you had the artistic skill to be part of it, because you're working to get better with the other Magic artists. You're making connections with art directors. You're also, but most importantly, you're making connections with the fans. A lot of the Magic artists I see that do really well are the ones who go to the events, meet the fans, do signatures, and they become household names for Magic fans because of their relationship to the community, and the community supports them by buying those playmats, buying those originals and stuff like that. So you have a lot of like speculation on the original art, and it's like that doesn't necessarily like.
That's more of
it's risky,
factor, or maybe like the card or something that it is.
Yeah, it's usually like the card and then
a guarantee,
and then the artist, but it's rare that it's going to sell for like. I'm not Chris Ron, like I'm not going to sell a card for millions of dollars.
You have to. It takes time and work, like anything else, building that community and building that fan base.
Yeah. I mean, I've got
artists. You can't just roll up and be like, hey, I got a Magic card, guys. Now I'm the best.
Right. You'd be like, are you playing with us today or not? Let's go. Yeah, like I've got a couple friends who are like really into Magic. Like some of our closer friends, like they love, and those artists are, I think they've finally gotten some work. Can't name them, but they've finally gotten some work with Magic, and I feel like that's the kind of person that should be doing the cards, because they like spend like I've given this friend of mine so many speeches about saving some money because they buy everything Magic, which I get, that's their thing, right? But that's the kind of person you want making the card art, because they're like, they really are enjoying the fact that they've got a Magic card to make, and then they're gonna go back in the community and be like, that's my card, let's play Commander, let's go, and whatever.
I mean, from the Wizard standpoint, it doesn't matter so much because we just need the art, right? But
right, no, I get it.
Like in terms of like the artist's survival long term, it's making those connections to the community that will actually really help that individual, because like all of it's work for hire, right? And so like you can only do X number of cards. It's getting that additional support that makes it an actual viable career, rather than just like, here's the one-off gig that I do because I need like this drop of a couple K.
Right. No, I had an AD ask me once why I wanted to work on Magic, and I was totally honest. I basically was just like, I really just want to. I love the games. I want to work on a card, but honestly, I would just be pushing my IP. I like the idea that people will get to know me better as an artist, and then I can be like, oh, you like my Magic card? I got this other thing that I'm working on, Ancient Ones. Like, here you go. So, I don't know if that was a right or wrong answer for that art director, but she did say,
I wonder who it was.
I could tell you later. I'm not going to name drop her live, but she was fine. She said it was an honest answer. She said it was an honest response, and I said, okay.
I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't think any of the 80s would call you for that. Right, they're all very practical people, and they've been in the exact same spot that you have.
Well, so yeah, I was doing Smart School in Scott's class too, and Scott was just like, But he did back me up. He goes, Allen has this IP that he's been building for the last like 9 years, and now it's turning into a thing. So he
understood. I know who it is.
Yeah, you know who it is. Trust me. She was really nice, and I followed up, and I'm still like, because when the first words out of her mouth when she saw my work was, "I want to taste your colors," and I was just like, "Let's go," But then I never heard back, which I followed up with a work as I make more art in Scott's class, but I'm never like badgering anyone. I'm always just like, they have all said, go ahead and send us new work as you get it. So that's what I keep doing. And again, if I get my name on a card, I just know it'll help with a little bit of like building my brand as who I am. And that way I can be like, I've got this other, you like this card? Here's this other project I'm working on. It's got tons of art that looks like this, but someday. And then I'll walk in the room all cool. I'm a magic artist. No, I'm just kidding. It won't go to my head like that. I'll put my card in every deck I build. Just kidding.
It's mechanically unwise.
I know. Alan keeps losing every round.
No, about the mechanics. It's about the lulls.
Yeah, exactly. He seems pretty happy. Yeah, but he just keeps losing.
True. I can't get over people who like take games like really seriously. I don't know if it's because I've been working in them for so long, but it's like, I know it's really easy to get sucked into games because literally what they're doing is they're trying to tell stories and give experiences that like elicit certain feelings. But I feel that like, for me, there's always been a very hard line between the fiction and the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I miss like when
you see the sausage, when you make the sausage.
Yeah. You're like, I'm good. I don't need to taste that. I know what it's like. I miss
the absolute biggest shit poster when it comes to games. Like if I see like a thread in games, I like to pull at it until it unravels the whole sweater.
I mean, I with Magic, I used to, I miss like now everyone wants to always play Commander, right? Or in like, whenever my friends are like, hey, do you guys want to get together for the weekend and play? They want to always do like a round robin. Let's play. And I'm like, I don't want to. I miss like when I was in like high school and early college. My friends and I used to build like wild decks, right? Like just like I still have them all in I never took them apart because I loved them so much. Like I've got like and we used to come with like crazy names for them, like one for me, none for you was one of my decks where it's just I would steal life from you as we were playing. So it was like literally white and black,
I love white black, great combo.
Right? So I was like, essentially, I would drain you, and I would like by the time I ended, I was always at like well over 50 hit points, and you'd be dead, Or I had one called I called it the beatdown deck, but essentially it's got Scott's card in there, which is Elvish Piper, and it would help me bring out these monster cards that were unblockable, basically. And I had, we built it like thinking like how fast and how cool. Like I remember my one friend made an all enchantment deck, and I'm like, we're playing him, and we're waiting for. He had one artifact in there, and it's like Urza's weapon, I think. And the whole time we're playing, we're waiting for like a creature to come out, and he just somehow worked. I was like, holy fuck, it's an all enchantment deck. And we were just blown away. And he took 3 of us out, and nobody plays games like that anymore. Like everybody wants to like play.
Well,
like, let's play my Commander deck. I'm like, can we make just a fun deck? And
Commander actually has become the format for those kind of like trolley decks.
Used to have like. Is that also like the meta in terms of like not just your own personal experiences, but the larger game community that surrounds Wizards and all that?
Yeah. Well, I feel like within the past like 10 years or so, there's been a lot of research into social motivations for gaming and social gaming. And the motive, like why do people like playing games with other people? It's like I've been in the game industry for a long time. My education is all game industry, and a lot of like back in like the early 2000s, it was all like, okay, games are you play them so you can beat the other person. And then like Gears of War showed that like people are super into cooperative gaming too, where they work together to beat the environment or something, or like people play Second Life, where literally they're just hanging out and make believe, and like role playing. World of Warcraft is also really good for that. And so instead of like, so within the past 10 years or so, there've been kind of like a differentiate where people start thinking about gamers in terms of player profiles rather than in terms of people who want to play this to get like a specific goal done that the goal that the game sets. So like people who like achievement, people who like collection, people who like repetitive action because it soothes them. People who like gambling, people who like beating other people, like to quote that one there. how do you know you're winning if nobody else is losing?
He's that guy. I got you.
Like,
I've met players like that in Destiny. I know what's up.
And so what you try to do is you design. So now I feel game design as a field has gotten a lot more mature in the past 10 years and a lot more deeper into psychology, because you're starting to see like, hey, this is the kind of experience we're creating. Like Dredge is, I haven't played it yet, but it's like a deep sea horror fishing game. And I'm
I
like,
heard about this.
It's good.
And so you have the calming mechanics of like generally fishing games are pretty calm because you have to wait for the fish, right? And they test your patience that way, but also like telling like this narrative of just like kind of weird dark stuff.
Got cool animation.
Yeah.
And it has I was gonna say, it has a really good risk reward loop to it.
Yeah.
That's
And so
sinks right in. It hooks right into you.
as a designer, a lot of our time is spent balancing, and you're essentially like trying to develop almost Pavlovian triggers, to be like, this is when the dopamine will hit. This is when the sad hormone will hit. This is when, in order to kind of take people on these rides, on these emotions. And a lot of movies also do this naturally, leveraging our ability to actually empathize with fictional characters, which I don't know if like a lot of species can do that. Is like one thing that kind of like makes us human, I think, is our ability to feel the emotion of another member of our species by just observing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually really good. We should definitely have you on again to talk about this.
I think really deeply. I'm actually terrible at balancing because I'm like really chill about a lot of things. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. I had fun. I had fun doing that. And somebody's like, no, this is a terrible experience. And I'm like,
I mean, like, there's like, you don't like you're saying, like, you don't think about like the aesthetics of like, just like you're saying, like, games are not designed to make you feel like it's just not like, before you'd be like, here's a puzzle solver or whatever, and you just get through it. But now, like, if there's no like
yeah.
I play a lot of Destiny, and obviously I earned this fucking shirt. I stopped falling for this because the game initially, it's still got good world building. I have all their grimoires, the lore behind it, I love it, right? But the game itself has turned into this, like, it's not good. It's just turned into a thing where like if you want to play the game, the storyline is it's not as good as I thought it. It's going to a place I don't like. It may come back, so I'm still gonna play to see what happens. But the PvP side of it is turned into a bunch of tryhards who make the game zero fun now, right? Like, you're stepping in there with people who just like, it's like, what do you do? Are you just sitting around playing all day? Like, how'd you even hit me from back there?
Some people,
and,
yes.
Yes, I get it. And then these shirts,
like,
used to be like you earn points and then you get, I thought their marketing behind it was awesome because they used to do this thing where the shirts cost like $7 million, right? And it was like 7,777,000 or some wild ass big number. But if you
beat Final Fantasy VII number.
Yeah. So, but if you like get all the triumphs, they call them, done, the shirt is like $30, right? And then you can get it with your name, gamer tag, and stuff on it.
Yeah.
But there was a point where I was just like, I can't keep playing this game to earn all these because it got more and more difficult, right? And my friends, there was a time I was doing shows. They would literally log in as my character to help me close some of these out. And that's when I was like, we can't do this anymore because it's turning into a thing where now I'm so addicted to getting a shirt that I'm messaging my friends and I'm like, y'all got to log in and just close out this week's for me because I've got like 5 days to do this.
This is kind of hilarious because like I actually know somebody who paid somebody else to do her Genshin dailies.
There you go. See?
Oh, really?
Paid her real money.
I mean, if you got,
and I was like, what?
Paying a random person to do it is like, wow, that's an extra step, because I know that I heard about people who like pay people to play missions to get like specific weapons from this for them, right? And I'm just like, I don't want to turn my account over to a random person I've never met,
I mean, it was a friend of hers. It wasn't a random.
Oh yeah, sure. If it's a friend of yours, it's cool. If your friends are willing to play, like my friends were playing my characters to try to help build up my points, but there was a line there. Also, I lost what I liked about the game was the story. It made me. It reminded me of old school I love sci-fi, obviously. So it reminded me of the stuff I used to read, the stuff I used to watch. So now when games come by like that, I tend to lean more towards that. And I haven't really I haven't played. I think the closest I've gotten to a game where I'm just like, I really am enjoying this. I really am immersed in it was The Witcher. But since then, I've been just kind of like, you mentioned JRPGs. There's one called Sea of Stars on Switch right now. You can play the demo for free. And it reminds me of a little bit of old school Final Fantasy. And it's got a little bit of like, if you remember the comic book Battle Chasers, that I think it's Joe Madura. He put out a JRPG a couple years back. I waited forever for this thing, right? I kickstarted it. It was funded. And then they had a PC version, I believe an Xbox version, but they said they're gonna make a Switch, so I waited. I was like, I want a Switch version. And I remember I saw him at a show in Dallas, and I was like, yo, when's the Switch version? And it's a fun game. I love it, And this Sea of Stars kind of has both those vibes in it, so it's kind of making me feel a little bit nostalgic. It's got it reminds me a lot of what's that Nintendo game? Not Dragon.
There's a lot of them. Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest, yeah, it's got like a little bit of like the story like feels, it's got like a lot of nostalgic feelings to it. So I'm like, now this is just a demo, so I don't know how deep this is gonna go. So, but I do feel like I will invest
pretty
in
deep.
It. Yeah,
it's
I feel
pretty cheap to do story in like a 2D JRPG.
I mean, they kickstarted this thing and it funded
JRPG style game.
I love it. So
it's like 90% writing those games.
Come write a game for me. Let's go. I want to make like, when people are like, hey, you're going to turn Ancient Ones into a video game. I was like, I would love to make it into like an old school, like 80s style 8-bit video game of some sort, but what would it be?
Reminds me of like, I was going to say, Alan, have you ever played or seen trailers for Naruto Boy? Or Naruto Boy? I think Naruto Boy is how they pronounce it. It's very much aesthetically up your alley. Excuse me. It's like
it looks like Tron on the
like,
cover.
Yeah, it's like basically Tron-ish kind of thing. They're like, aesthetically totally there, lore-wise and stuff. Like I played, I was like, yes, this is my jam. I like this. Gameplay-wise, a little lacking. It's kind of it. I think the gameplay is probably the weakest aspect about it.
Sure.
But it's like a hack and slash and like a part platformer kind of thing. But yeah, no, like when I played through that game though, I was like, I would actually really like a book about this, or like I want to read more about this story that this thing is offering.
I'll have to look it up. It looks cool. I mean, I like games like, I also like, just old school, like Switch. They just put out a TMNT, and it looks a little bit like the TMNT we used to play at the arcade, but then it looks like an 8-bit game.
Oh yeah, the Shredder's Revenge.
It's fucking fun, and I got a bunch of our friends logged in. We all beat it because you had to beat it once to get Casey Jones, and then now we're gonna go run through it again with Casey Jones. And there's a DLC coming out with Usagi Yojimbo in there, so I'm like, we're gonna get this. Games like that are fun for me, but they don't really there's no story there. It's just, I mean, there's the TMNT story, I guess, which is still fun. So,
yeah, games don't need to have story to be fun. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, no, I get that, and that's my point with that, right? This game is just fun.
Like, me, professional designer. Nope, games don't need story.
I mean, 6 of us played this, and we were just laughing our asses off the whole time. We played on Xbox one night, and we cranked. I think we finished it in like a night and a half. Like we played it one night, it saved. We played it the next night, we closed it out. Because I was like, we got to beat this so I can get Casey Jones, guys. Like, that's who I want to play. That's the only character I'm worried about. Okay, we're a little over time, but that's okay. That happens to us on a weekly basis now. I would definitely like to have you back to talk a little bit more about, I think the philosophy and stuff behind games is kind of interesting to talk about, especially if people want to learn about it. If you want to talk about it, I guess.
I mean, I could always talk about it. Somebody was like, you should write a book. And I was like, with what time?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to do it a little bit at a time, right? Until you have a book. That's the way to do it.
Singular essays over and over.
I mean, what you should do is just talk and then have your partner there type. or get Dragon Speak and they'll just type it out, right?
Yeah. I think you made me a steak.
Yeah. Look at that. Well, real quick, tell us where we can find more information about you, for people who want to learn up on it?
I mean, I mostly operate out of my website, which is www.gracepfong.com. So it's like just my name, but with a middle initial, P as in Patricia, but Patricia is not actually my middle name.
Gotcha.
And
I like that.
and I can be found on Twitter, Insta, like all you good social medias at Fictograph, just FICTOGRAPH. It's a stupid pun I came up with when I graduated college.
Hey man, it's fine. As long as you stick to it all the way through. And Andrew, where can we find information about you?
asidesart.com or asidesart anywhere else, but just mainly the website. Sign up for the newsletter there or sign up for the Patreon.
Okay.
Newsletters are good.
Newsletters are what's going to sustain us when these social media sites all go down.
Yay, and shitification.
Yay! Yay, late stage capitalism.
They're just going to burn on their own. My stuff's all at ancientones.net. All my socials are AllenPanakal Art, minus TikTok. I had a good talk with my lawyer about that today. We'll see what happens. Someone's squatting on my AllenPanakal Art handle on TikTok, and they have been for the last like 3 or 4 years, or 3 years at least. I can't seem to get it back. I've been in talks with TikTok security actually to be like, I don't understand. I proved to you I am AllenPanakal of AllenPanakal Art. So there's a trademark that should be activating soon because they said they wanted copyright information, which I shared, which they said wasn't enough. Now they want trademark. And I was like, I'll get my lawyer on this and he'll send it over to you. And, I'm being told it may or may not happen. Either way, someone's squatting on my name. So, my name on TikTok will be The Real AllenPanakal until I get my name situated. But yeah, our next guest is supposed to be... I forget.
So you told me, next week, nothing because Origins.
I got Origins next week, and we were supposed to have Sarah Finnegan.
Make a lot of money.
Dude, I'm trying. I might have to reschedule Sarah.
It's going to be the 30th, but you said possibly she would have to be rescheduled. Is that right?
Possibly, yeah, because I realized I'm not in town either that day. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's just bad. I should check.
In that case, the next podcast is on the 7th, unless we have someone come in sooner.
Yeah, and it'll be Lindley. I forget her last name, but I'm gonna see if I can get Sarah in. Maybe before that or in the or that week once everything's situated. I gotta message her and find out. So
yeah,
but yeah, we'll see how Origins goes. It's one of those shows where it's like a mini Gen Con, so I feel like it always does okay for me.
Yeah, I'll see you. Are you going to real big Gen Con?
Dude, I've got a big booth at Gen Con. I have a 10 by 20.
I'll see you there.
For sure.
Are you an artist or a vendor at Gen
I'll
Con?
be speaking at the Writers Symposium for Gen Con. So I'm going to be on like 3 or 4 panels talking about stuff like game design, game writing, being an Asian American, and I will be teaching 2 workshops. These are paid, by the way. One on how to write art briefs and work with artists, and one on how to create a more visual kind of hierarchy and visual storytelling in if you wanted to be basically how do you get fan art for your book.
Sure.
I like that.
That sounds, I might check those out. We'll see. Usually at the end of the day at Gen Con, I'm just like, I just want to go get food and go to sleep. But
I mean, I also was like, please don't schedule me anything after 5 p.m. I need to eat.
Right. Because when we're done, we're just like zombies. We always end up going way off the strip because it's so busy to get anything in that area. So, but yeah, I will definitely see you at Gen Con, and I'll keep you guys posted on Origins. All right, I'm gonna take us offline. Give me 1 second.
Oh, cool.
Thanks for everyone who's watching. I guess you can email
you.
me if you have any questions. So nobody really asked questions.